so I'm back here at the fox den. My trail cameras were sitting for about 2 weeks, and I came down, grabbed the SD cards, took them back to the house and checked them real quick, and I really didn't get that much on trail camera. The kits have grown up a lot, so it was kind of amazing how much they've grown in the past 2 weeks, but the action at this spot really slowed down. So I kind of changed my idea on what this video is going to be about. I'm going to kind of steer away from showing all the trail camera videos. I'll put them at the end, but instead the main focus of this video is going to be about how I knew this was a fox den when I came across it. So, you know, if you're looking for a fox den out in your woods, or if you stumble across something like this, there's about 6 different clues on this specific one when I came up to it that you know, clued me in that this was a fox den, and I'll share those with you now. Alright, so the very first thing that clued me in was when I came up to this, the dirt was all freshly pulled out of there. So I knew this was a new hole, and knowing that, I looked at the size of it, and see if you can tell here, that's the size of the hole. It's about 1 foot in diameter, so that's much larger than a new groundhog hole would be. So I knew it had to have been something a little bit bigger, and fox dens are typically a little bit bigger than any other hole you'll find out in the woods, other than maybe a coyote den, but those are huge. You'll know it if you get to one of those. So that was the first clue. Alright, so the clue number 2 was just down from the hole right here, laying on the ground. There was like some sort of hide. It might have been a deer hide, but it was like half rotten. It was definitely freshly moved to this point, and when I came back the second time, this is kind of another clue, it was completely gone. So some sort of predator is in this area, and it's been working around in this area. So that's clue number 2. If you come to a fox den, there should be evidence of prey being eaten, whether it's deer hair, a hide, bones. Foxes like to eat those animals at the hole location. So sometimes they may eat them out in the woods, but they also will bring them back to their hole, eat them there, and there'll be evidence of that. Alright, so clue number 3 is just kind of the overall location of this hole. If I come up this hill, I knew that there was a fox den in this area, probably about 100 yards out that way, in an old, just a farmer's gravel pit on the side of his field. So that was an active fox den for probably 15 to 20 years. My dad had seen that when he bought some property out here. He had seen a fox sitting up on top of the hill, and I went back over there and found a well-used fox den. So that one may be kind of, you know, they may have moved on from that one, came over here and put one in the side of this hill. So I knew there was one in the area before, and just that's pretty good evidence that there might be one in that general area again at some point. Alright, so clue number 4 is, you know, we just went over the overall location. Now this is localized location of this den. It's a hole on the side of a bank. There's a hill at the top. It's about halfway up the bank. There's the main hole, and there's paths running up to the top of the bank. I know this area is gravelly. Every single fox den that I've ever found is in the side of a bank like this, in typically gravelly soil. I don't know why that is. Never really understood that or researched it enough to know, but it might do with something with draining, or I don't know. But they like being on the side of a hill like this, and then what they do is they'll sit up on top of the hill where they can see in all directions, and they'll actually eat up there. So you'll typically find food scraps up there, and they'll just kind of lay up there sometimes and look around, looking for prey, looking for predators, and sometimes I think just relaxing. So this is the typical, you know, look that I see when I find a fox den. It's always on the side of a hill like this and dug into the hill. Alright, so clue number 5 is kind of the deliberateness of the trails. When foxes and coyotes, you know, basically canines, when they move, they typically move with a purpose, and there's a reason behind it. So if they're in one area for a long time, they're typically using the same exact trail every time. So going from this hole over to this hole over here, the secondary hole, there's a very pronounced trail. I know it's grown over quite a bit now, but when I first found it, you know, it was thin, which tells me it's not like a deer that's, you know, trouncing all over and just making a huge trail because it's large. It was an animal that was small that made a huge trail because it traveled it very often. So it traveled over to this hole quite often, went down into there. You can probably see there's kind of a trail running that way over into the woods. On my last video, this trail was a lot more pronounced, running down into that the old road there. And then if we move up to the top of the hill, coming from that way, it's hard to tell on camera, but there's a trail running this way. You know, there's no green vegetation that shows it, but as we move across here, it runs right through here and down into the woods there. So all these trails they were very pronounced and very small, so you know, it meant a small animal was using them very, very often. So if you see something like that, that's a good bet that it's a canine working those trails. All right, so the last clue kind of sealed the deal for me. I come down this road, like I said, and go check out the water down there sometimes. And I was bringing my dog running down here, and when we got to this point, he stopped, locked onto this area, and was just smelling everything, marking it all over the place. And so, you know, he knew that there was a predator here. He knew that there was a canine here, and he wanted to kind of, I guess, assert his dominance, show it was his territory. And that I've never seen him do that so intensely. And that was a dead giveaway that this is either a fox or a coyote den, but obviously it's much too small for a coyote. So right there was what kind of sealed the deal and told me right away, this is a fox den for sure. All right, well, that's all I got for you. Now when you're out walking in the woods and you find something like this, you'll know exactly what it is. Or if you're specifically looking for a fox den, you'll know how to identify one. Other than that, if you were interested to see how big the kits have gotten and what other videos I've gotten over the last 2 weeks, I'm going to put those videos right after this. But if you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, interesting, whatever, please like it and subscribe to my channel. It helps other people find my channel, and that definitely helps me out. So thank you for that, and always remember, get out there and be one with the outdoors.